Was this milestone hiding in plain sight? Did it pass silently while the world was distracted by newer releases, louder promotions, and faster trends? Or is there something deeply poetic about the way Stigma, one of BTS V's most emotionally raw and personal songs, crossed 200,000 streams on Spotify almost like a whisper rather than a shout? One question immediately ignites another. How does a song released years ago, without recent promotion, without viral challenges, without aggressive playlisting campaigns, continue to gather listeners every single day as if it were brand new? And perhaps the most intriguing question of all, what does this milestone really mean? Not just for V, but for the quiet power of music that refuses to fade. Stigma has officially surpassed 200 million streams on Spotify, becoming V's 9th solo song to reach this monumental milestone, and his 3 RD solo track released under BTS to do so. On paper, it is a statistic. In reality, it is a story layered with emotion, resilience, artistry, and a fandom that never lets go. This is not just about numbers climbing. This is about time proving something many already knew but perhaps never said loudly enough. Stigma was never just a song. It was a confession, a wound, a mirror, and now, undeniably, a classic. When Stigma was first released as part of BTS's Wings album in 2016, it immediately stood apart. The opening breaths, the aching falsetto, the restrained desperation in V's voice. Nothing about it felt safe or conventional. Even then, fans sensed it carried weight. Yet few could have predicted that nearly a decade later, listeners would still be pressing play in such staggering numbers. 200 million streams is not an accident. It is not nostalgia alone. It is repetition fueled by need. The milestone forces a deeper reflection. Why does Stigma still resonate? Why does it continue to find new listeners in 2026? And why does it now stand proudly alongside these other solo successes, forming a pattern that can no longer be dismissed as coincidence? To understand this moment, one must understand V's solo trajectory within BTS. From Stigma to later works like Singularity, Inner Child, and beyond, V has consistently chosen emotional risk over comfort. Stigma was his first solo on a BTS album, and rather than easing into the spotlight with something gentle or conventional, he stepped forward with a song drenched in guilt, longing, and unresolved pain. The title itself was provocative. Stigma is not a word chosen lightly. It implies shame, secrecy, and wounds that do not heal easily. For a young idol in one of the world's fastest rising groups to sing about such themes was bold, even unsettling. And yet, that discomfort is precisely why the song has endured. AS streams accumulated year after year. Something fascinating happened. Stigma refused to age. It did not become a relic of a past era of BTS. Instead, it evolved with its listeners. Fans who first heard it as teenagers returned to it as adults, finding new meanings in its lyrics. New fans discovering BTS's discography often found themselves stopping at Stigma, replaying it, searching for context, reading interpretations, and feeling something they couldn't quite name. This cycle repeated itself quietly, relentlessly, until one day, the number ticked past 200,000. The reaction from fans was immediate and emotional. Social media flooded with disbelief, pride, and a familiar sentiment. Of course it did. How could it not? But beneath the celebration lay something more complex. Many fans pointed out how little attention this achievement received from mainstream media. No grand headlines. No industry-wide announcement. Once again, V's impact seemed to be acknowledged primarily by those who were paying close attention. This raises uncomfortable but unavoidable questions. How many times has V achieved milestones that were only fully appreciated by fans? How many records have been broken quietly, without fanfare, without the recognition they arguably deserved? And does that silence diminish the achievement, or does it amplify it? In the case of Stigma, the answer feels clear. The lack of noise has only made the accomplishment more powerful. 200 million streams accumulated not through hype cycles, but through longevity. Through listeners choosing the song over and over again, often in moments of vulnerability, late nights, long drives, times of self-doubt, times when words failed, but music did not. It is also impossible to ignore the significance of this being V's 3 RD solo song from BTS to cross the 200 million mark. This places him in rare company within the group, highlighting not just popularity, but consistency. BTS is known for its strong individual identities, yet translating them to solo streaming power within group albums is no small feat. Each member's solo track competes not only with group songs, but with each other. That Stigma continues to hold its own nearly 10 years later speaks volumes. And then there is the broader picture. This milestone cements Stigma as part of a larger narrative. V's steady accumulation of solo achievements across different eras, genres, and contexts. 9 solo songs reaching over 200 million streams is not a fluke. It is a pattern of listeners connecting deeply with his voice, his tone, and the emotional worlds he builds within each track. What makes this even more compelling is that Stigma predates V's official solo debut. Long before solo albums, vinyl sellouts, global chart debuts, and fashion headlines, there was Stigma. It was the foundation, the first glimpse into what V would become as a solo artist. Looking back now, the song feels almost prophetic. The vulnerability, the restraint, the emotional intensity, these are all hallmarks of his later work. The difference is that in Stigma, it was raw, unfiltered, and perhaps even risky. Fans often revisit old performances of Stigma after milestones like this. The live stages, where V's voice sometimes cracked under the weight of the song, take on new meaning. At the time, those moments were seen as emotional performances. Now, they look like the early chapters of a story that is still unfolding. A story where authenticity wins, even if it takes years for the numbers to fully reflect it. The 200 million mark also invites a conversation about streaming culture itself. In an era dominated by instant virality, short attention spans, and algorithm-driven success, Stigma represents something different. It is not a song that thrives on trends. It thrives on feeling, and that may be its greatest strength. Each stream is intentional. Each replay is a choice. This is not background noise. This is music people sit with. Industry observers have increasingly begun to note this phenomenon in V's catalog. His songs tend to age exceptionally well. Rather than peaking quickly and fading, they grow slowly, steadily, sometimes unexpectedly. Stigma, crossing 200 million now, years after its release, fits this pattern perfectly. It also raises anticipation for how his current and future releases will be viewed years from now. If this is what longevity looks like, what milestones are quietly waiting in the wings, there is also an emotional symmetry in this achievement. Stigma is a song about hidden pain, about carrying something alone. Watching it reach such a visible, undeniable milestone feels almost like a form of resolution. The song that once felt like a secret between V and the listener is now embraced by hundreds of millions of streams. The pain was heard, the message was received, and it endured. For fans, this moment is not just celebratory, it is validating. Many have defended Stigma for years as one of BTS's most underrated solos, a track that deserved more recognition. The numbers now speak for themselves. 200 million times someone pressed play. 200 million times. The song mattered enough to return to AS news of the milestone spread. Fans across different generations of the fandom shared personal stories tied to the song. Some spoke about discovering it during difficult periods of their lives. Others recalled how it was the track that made them pay closer attention to V as an individual artist. These stories reveal something statistics cannot capture: the human impact behind the streams, and that may be the most surprising part of all. In an industry obsessed with first-week numbers and instant records, Stigma reminds us that true impact is often measured over time. Quietly, patiently, without spectacle. The song did not rush to its milestone. It walked there, carrying years of emotion with Oh, what happens next? Will Stigma continue to climb, reaching 300 million for 100 million beyond? History suggests it will. If anything, milestones like this tend to attract new listeners, curious about what makes the song so enduring. And once they listen, many stay. The cycle continues. For V, this achievement adds another layer to an already remarkable solo narrative. It reinforces the idea that his artistry is not defined by trends or moments, but by depth. That his voice carries something people return to when they need sincerity. That even his earliest solo work holds a power that time cannot diminish.